What's up, everyone? Welcome to our third day of our Destiny Review in Progress panel discussion. My name is Vince Ingenito. I'm the guy who gets to review Destiny for you guys. These are my friends, Alfredo Diaz.
Ayo.
Ayo. John Ryan.
Hello there.
And Jared Petty.
Greetings, universe.
And today, what we're going to discuss in particular is the Crucible, which is Destiny's multiplayer aspect. Just first off, shooting from the hip, Jared, just your thoughts quickly on the Crucible.
The Crucible is Arthur Miller's finest work. I really think it's the best play he ever wrote. The story of John... What? You don't like the Crucible?
It's clearly Death of a Salesman.
Okay,
no, I'm sorry. The Crucible is the fun. Okay.
We're a little off topic.
The Crucible.
What do you think about the Crucible in Destiny?
Oh, in Destiny. Okay. Well, the Crucible in Destiny, the lesser of two Crucibles when compared to Miller's fine work, but still a good multiplayer mode for a shooter. I've enjoyed it. Okay. I'm not particularly good at it. I like the fact that it drops me right smack in the middle of things, and I don't have to worry particularly about stuff like loadouts. I like just being thrown into a game. Not having options can be a good thing when it's done right, and I'm having a good time with it. I imagine somebody who's a more competitive multiplayer, someone who's more competitive in multiplayer.
You mean like this guy?
Yeah, like this guy
Maybe
right here.
this guy right
that
here?
guy right there. Might feel differently about it, but for somebody who sucks like me, it's actually not bad.
Well, it's funny you say that, because if you're a person who likes having no options, let me tell you, the Crucible, right there for 10 out of 10, guys. No, but that makes it sound worse than it is. But
yeah,
but Alfredo, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on what's not there and what you think is missing from a competitive side.
I think overall the Crucible is great. I think the learning curve is a little rough because if you jump in, right, and let's say you're going up against, like, the matchmaking, I don't really think it's too existent, right?
Sure.
So you jump in. Maybe
how do you rank people?
Yeah,
at this point,
exactly. But then I know there's some times that people will jump in and then they'll go up against people who are level 20 and they have like a Shinjin E that the fire rate is ridiculous and they'll just get romped on over and over.
So let me ask you about that. So now, before Iron Banner hits, which is where you'll be able to compete in multiplayer without any like level. Without any equalization going on between the different levels. That's where just what your stats are. Before that, we're told that when you step in, a level 20 is supposed to be dumbed down, at least to some degree, so that someone who's like a level 5 can actually compete with them. But how exactly they do that doesn't seem very transparent. Like, I don't feel like I know. It seems like I have all my upgrades. My upgrades don't go away. Well, so do they lower the effects of them? Or
I'm really bad, and this is completely subjective, but based on my experience, at first I was getting mauled, and now it's placing me on teams with players that are obviously better than me. Simply because, yes, I am getting better, but I'm also winning a lot more, even though I'm toward the bottom half of my team.
Right.
In most
I
cases.
never go above bottom 3.
I really do believe I'm gradually getting moved in with better players.
Gotcha.
And that the balancing is starting to. I don't know what algorithm is deciding this, but I get that impression. After
and that's the thing. Is like you were just saying that someone's got I don't know which weapon you were just saying the
Shinjin E.
Okay, right. Has a super high rate of fire. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to change the rate of fire on the gun, right?
Yeah.
When you step in, so it's like if you've got a better gun, then you've got a better gun. So where that really stops and starts the balancing out,
it's a little,
I don't really know.
Yeah, exactly. It's really like what transitions into actual like PvP and what's what doesn't. And also, I mean, I feel like it's a great multiplayer game competitively. It's competitive, but it's not going to be more than like a casually competitive game, right? Like, what's up with all these games coming out with no private lobbies? Can we talk about that?
Right, like, sure. What? And this guy,
I love the way that it works.
It's great,
from someone who doesn't ever get into competitive multiplayer at all. Like the last Call of Duty I actively participated in multiplayer for was maybe Modern Warfare 2.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I can't open up a lobby and just play with a bunch of viewers.
A bunch of viewers or a bunch of your friends. And that's the thing. This goes back to what we talked about a little bit yesterday, which is, again, no matter what angle you come at Destiny from, if it's just looking at that one slice and you compare it to that same slice that exists in other games, where that game just does it as their only slice, it doesn't really measure up, right? I mean, maybe the experience as a whole can be a good time, but I mean, if you told someone who's a Halo 2 multiplayer freak, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, Destiny, it's going to be like my next crack. It's going to be my next thing. Maybe not. They'd sit down, they'd be like, where are player lobbies? Where is any customization of game modes, of loadouts?
Yeah.
But let's talk about what they did get right, which is the map design. I think that
let's get into that.
I do think that's superb.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed the way the maps are laid out. Not only are they aesthetically pleasing and easy to learn your way around pretty quickly, but there's a tremendous variation in sizes. There's the routes are not immediately transparent, but you find your way quickly enough into knowing where you want to go. A few trips through each map is enough to have some idea of what's going on there, to start learning where the strategic points are. And I appreciated that again. And maybe, I hope I'm not getting the impression this is a game that's made for dumbed-down players. But I also like that they made some bold choices with some really large maps, something I happen to enjoy. I know some people hate large maps, but that one on Mars in particular, what's the name of it? Does anybody remember?
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, an enormous Martian map. And I've seen some people look over my shoulder and say, how can that be any fun? People are just going to be...
But it's also not as large as it looks, right?
Exactly.
It's all about designing the space so that it looks bigger and roomier than it actually is. And that's a smart design that runs kind of throughout Destiny. So it's again, it's not to say, folks, that it's not fun to play a match in the Crucible. It certainly is. Like, in fact, sometimes you can even lose yourself in it and kind of forget that you're not playing Halo in the way it feels because the combat is so similar and the maps are so well designed.
That's a common thing in Destiny anyway, to forgetting you're playing Halo.
But at the same time, again, like we said yesterday, if you compare it in terms of features, in terms of breadth, compared to a game that focuses on multiplayer, it doesn't necessarily really add up. But we'll see how things change maybe when Iron Banner hits and if that enhances the end game and the loot game. But thanks a lot, guys, for chiming in with your thoughts. And thank you, folks at home, for watching. Again, we'll be back at it 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, 10 to 2, live streaming the Destiny Review in Progress from yours truly. And for everything you need on Destiny, be sure to keep it right here on IGN.
And Arthur Miller.